I silently walked away after uncovering my wife's affair after 3.5 years. Can you imagine finding out your whole life was a lie, not through a dramatic confession, but by spotting a pink bra hidden under a car seat? That's how my world shattered. What would you do if that shocking discovery led you to confront a betrayal so deep it changed everything? It all started so beautifully. 5 years ago at a backyard cookout, I met my wife, my ex-wife now. We clicked instantly. She was gorgeous, articulate, and honestly a little out of my league. My rough around the edges, charm, somehow appealed to her. We fell head over heels, practically living at each other's apartments. 18 months later, we were married, planning our future in a big apartment, saving for a home. Life felt perfect, but after 3 years, things shifted. Our connection, once electric, began to fray. She started picking fights over the smallest things. When I'd bring up her increasingly late hours and work outings, she'd explode. She was moving up the corporate ladder, she said, claiming it was just paying her dues. And because I traveled for work sometimes, she'd snap that I had no right to question her. I tried to cut back on travel, promised to be home more, but those arguments, they just went in circles, never resolving anything. Looking back, I was completely blind. Aside from our dwindling sex life and those endless late nights, I suspected nothing. I just figured she was exhausted from her demanding job. But being rejected so often, it chipped away at my confidence, my ego. I didn't see any secret texts. She had a work phone, sure, but she spent most of her time in our spare bedroom, which she used as a home office. Then came September 2017. Her work engagements started increasing. 1 night a week turned into 3, sometimes more. I'm not a jealous man by nature, but something felt off. She worked with mostly male executives, and I knew she had to deflect advances sometimes, but this felt different. The first real crack in my naive bubble appeared a month before D-Day. She'd stopped at the supermarket on her way home, and I went to help her unload the groceries. As I reached into the back seat, something pink caught my eye, glinting from beneath the front passenger seat. It was a bra. Her bra. I knew her taste. I knew exactly where she bought them. A cold dread washed over me. You know that gut-wrenching feeling when something is just profoundly wrong. That's what hit me. I watched her and felt sick. Why was her bra under the seat? She always took it off as soon as she was home if she was feeling intimate. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. When I brought the bags into the kitchen, she looked at me. "Paul, are you all right?" she asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I just shrugged it off, but inside I was screaming. It took every ounce of strength I had to hide the turmoil. I knew, right then, I had to find out the truth. That night, and the next day, my mind raced. I tried to connect the dots, thinking of all the signs I might have missed. But besides that damn bra, I had nothing concrete. She worked downtown in a huge city. It wasn't like I could just follow her. I decided to try one more thing, to put the affair idea aside and give her my full attention. One Friday after work, I went all out. I bought flowers, a beautiful bottle of wine. I prepared a delicious meal, set the table with our best plates and candles. When she finally breezed in, later than usual, I gestured to the dinner, hoping for a moment of connection. She looked at it, then at me, and with a sigh, said she was sorry, but she had to go meet co-workers at a neighborhood spot. She just needed a quick shower first. Maybe a small snack? My insides completely flipped. I went utterly silent. I can't even describe the rage, the sense of utter disrespect that bubbled up. I was done. As she showered, I took my old work cell phone, the one she didn't know I still had, and slipped it into her backpack. My plan was simple. Use my personal phone to track it. Then I walked into the kitchen and threw the beautiful dinner, the flowers, everything, straight into the garbage. She emerged from the shower, looking stunning, completely oblivious. "All right, let's eat," she said cheerfully. "Never mind," I muttered, my voice tight. "Just go out with your friends." She looked at me, confused. "Are you mad?" she asked. "I'm sad that you never want to do anything with me." I told her, my voice strained. She got defensive, called me childish, sarcastically mentioned my short fuse. "Foolish me," I whispered as she turned to leave, a sly smile on her face. She just stormed off. The moment her car pulled out, I grabbed my personal phone. 20 minutes later, the tracker showed her at the bar she frequented with coworkers. I drove there, found her car in the parking lot, and parked across the street. I felt like a stalker, a shell of myself, but I had to know. I had to face my fear. About an hour later, she walked out. With a man. He looked like an executive from her company. He pulled her close, kissed her right there on the lips. My body went completely numb. My stomach clenched into a hard, painful knot. They got into a different car together. I followed. You guessed it. They drove to a hotel just 10 minutes away. I watched them hand in hand walk inside. I'd seen enough. I felt so foolish, so utterly stupid. I started pounding the steering wheel. A primal scream trapped in my chest. Something inside me just broke. I don't know if I blacked out or had an out-of-body experience, but when I came back to myself, all I wanted was a drink. My life as I knew it was over. I just started driving, out of town, replaying every sickening detail. I was crying, not just from hurt, but from pure, raw anger. 30 miles away, on the outskirts of town, I found a small, cozy tavern. I sat at the bar, ordered a drink. The bartender, a kind woman, looked at me. "Looks like someone took the wind out of your sails," she said gently. "You could say that." I managed, half smiling, probably looking like death warmed over. A man sat down beside me, Ray, and despite my lack of desire to talk, something about him put me at ease. We started chatting, and eventually the words just spilled out. My wife's infidelity. "All I want to do is forget her," I mumbled. Ray clapped me on the back. "You're not alone, buddy. Been there a few years ago. There's a reason these things happen. Your life can go positive or negative from here. It's all up to you." His words, for some reason, cut through my gloom. Even in my pain, I've always been a rational person. He was right. "So, you gonna move out?" he asked. I hadn't even thought that far. All I knew was I couldn't be around her anymore. "I have an idea," Ray continued. "I have this mobile trailer on my land. Needs some work, isn't fancy, but if you need a place to go, maybe you could stay there for a bit? I'll give you a great deal. You could even park it on a beautiful piece of my property. Watch over it for me. Might be good to escape." The bartender, who had been listening, chimed in. "Hell, honey, if I could have escaped my crazy ex-husband years ago into a trailer, I would have jumped at the chance." Maybe this was it. It felt like I'd stumbled into the twilight zone, but it also felt like a lifeline. "Yeah, I'll think about it," I told Ray. "Maybe check it out." We exchanged numbers, agreed to meet in a few days. For the first time since that sickening discovery, I felt a sliver of hope, a way out of the heartache and nightmare. One thing was certain. I would never spend another moment with her. Cheating is my absolute line. That night, I sat on the couch when I got home. Kathy came out of the bedroom. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice laced with annoyance. "Where have you been?" I shot back, turning to face her. "You know, out for drinks," she said dismissively. "Are you having an affair?" I asked point blank. She was clearly stunned, but quickly composed herself. "No. Why would you ask that?" I told her I'd heard things, that she might be seeing someone at work. "Who told you that?" she demanded. "Someone I know," I said, keeping the details to myself. "You're being ridiculous," she scoffed, accusing me of being drunk and insane, then asked where I'd been again. "Out for drinks with friends," I replied, mimicking her. She clearly wanted to press more, but just huffed and went back to bed. Now I had proof. My suspicions were confirmed. I slept on the sofa. I couldn't sleep at all, haunted by images of her with him. I felt sorry for myself, disgusted, hurt. But then, Ray's trailer popped into my head. It was like a revelation, a sudden burst of light. My fight or flight response had kicked in, and I chose flight. And that thought, that choice, strangely cheered me up. The next morning, we barely spoke. We carried on with the weekend like nothing had happened. A few days later, I met Ray. He had a beautiful ranch, and the trailer? It was actually pretty nice. About 26 feet long, fully furnished. It reminded me of college, spring break trips. I practically insisted he take money for it. Then, he gave me directions to the property where it would be parked. It was gorgeous, surrounded by trees, close to mountain foothills with hiking and biking trails. Ray even had a little cabin overlooking the spot and ensured electricity and water access for the trailer. He promised to pull it there for me. Over the next few weeks, I tried to get Kathy to confess. To be honest, all I got was gaslighting, more denials. I even warned her, bluntly, that if I found out she was cheating, there would be no turning back. She just dug deeper into her affair fog, lashing out with ridiculous denials. I almost laughed at how pathetic it was. I kicked myself for not taking pictures of them. I had no tangible evidence. The emotional agony was too much. I knew then I was done with this marriage. Instead of arguing, I started planning. While she was at work, I quietly began moving my belongings to the trailer. Clothes, my laptops, equipment, anything that was uniquely mine. At least I was doing something. During this time, I noticed a change in Kathy. She was being nicer, more polite, but it was too little, too late. She kept going to her company outings after work, so one night I got ready too. As I was leaving, she asked where I was going. Meeting up with some friends, I said. You wouldn't enjoy all the shop talk and you don't know them. I cut her off before she could ask more questions, using her exact words she'd always thrown back at me. All right, have a good time, she said, looking a little offended. I definitely will, I replied and walked out. Working on the trailer, hanging out with Ray at the bar, meeting his wonderful family and friends. I started making new connections. I felt better. I even decided to cut back on drinking. I didn't want to drown myself in self-pity, as easy as that would have been. Then Kathy told me she was traveling for work the next week. Who's going? I asked. The executive team and a few department heads, she replied. Hope you have a great time with your boyfriend, I said, looking right at her. I regretted it instantly. It sparked a furious argument. But Ray had told me it didn't matter. It doesn't matter who the other guy is, brother, he'd said. The fact that she chose to leave you is all that matters. She destroyed the marriage, whether she admits it or not. Facts are facts. Ray really should write a book for the betrayed. Damn it. Kathy's work trip was my perfect opportunity to leave for good. While she was gone, I gathered everything valuable that was mine. Not shared goods or furniture, just my stuff. Before I left, I wrote a note. At first, it was a long explanation, but I decided to keep brief. On a piece of paper, I wrote, I hope it was worth it. On top of that note, on the kitchen table, I placed my wedding ring. As I walked out, a huge weight lifted off me. I was liberated. The hurt would take time to heal, the baggage would need unpacking, but I had started. I needed time, clarity, and to get away from her, swiftly and quietly. I wasn't proud that I hadn't challenged her more, hadn't forced a confession, hadn't screamed or shouted. But she didn't deserve it. She had disregarded everything we had, our future, our home, our family. It was all gone. There was no turning back. I owed her nothing. She could handle the consequences. I hadn't planned anything, hadn't called a lawyer. I just wanted a new beginning. The mountain air was exactly what I needed. I got into my trailer. The next week, I resumed running. It felt incredible to be alive. While she was away, Kathy texted me things like, we just landed, having a team dinner, and so on. Then, where are you? Why haven't you gotten back to me? I never replied. When she got home, my phone exploded with calls and texts. I ignored them all. Her mother even called. I ignored her too. She didn't try to contact my father. They weren't close, and he's my only remaining family. After a week of silence, her messages grew more desperate. What is this? We must speak. I don't know what you think you know, but nothing is happening. There isn't an affair. Finally, after another week of being ghosted, she texted, I'm sorry. Things got out of hand. It didn't matter that I was involved with someone at work. You were absent a lot, and I was preoccupied. I simply made an error. I intended to terminate it. An error. I had been waiting for this confession, but it only made me detest her more. Why couldn't she just be truthful? An error doesn't last for 6 months, 8 months, a year. I had no future with this woman. Her pleas grew pathetic, begging me to come back, to work on the marriage. I refused to respond. Even after she stopped bothering me for a few weeks, I didn't reach out. I didn't want her to find out where I lived, to snoop around, to invade my new sanctuary. Then she started sending nasty texts. You're a coward. You refuse to speak to me. You have no regard for us. Come home, please, so we can discuss. You're where? I can visit you. Paul, please, let's chat and make things right. I don't remember all of them, but they all felt like excuses with very little genuine remorse. They went in one ear and out the other. After a while, I changed my number. Update! June 2018, Kathy emailed me, saying she'd hired a lawyer and was filing for divorce. My reply? Okay, that sounds good. This led to a barrage of emails asking me to visit. But when she realized that wouldn't work, she offered an uncontested divorce if I agreed. I did. And truly, a few months later, after I moved all my things out of our apartment, I was finally free. We never had to see each other again. She seemed to care more about closure than I did. For a few months, yes, I'd still think of her, and the grief would hit me like a ton of bricks when I heard a song we used to love. But eventually I just stopped thinking about her. Update 2, I'm officially divorced, and things are going great. I actually met a wonderful girl just down the hill from my house. We clicked when I helped her change a flat tire on the trail. She's a few years younger than me. Fantastic and adorable. She calls me her mountain man and loves my simple life. I'm not rushing into commitment, but I'm not giving up on women entirely either. I have no intention of moving out of this trailer. I love being outside. I've simplified my life, and that's made everything easier, including dealing with the grief and my ex-wife. I know everyone handles these situations differently. I was fortunate to be only 3 years into the marriage and no kids. I truly believe I acted in my own best interest. You don't have to spend your entire life with a cheater. If you face something similar, try not to overthink it. Keep living, keep improving yourself. It will get better. I hope everyone finds their best life. I've revised the story a few times, and I just wanted to give you an update on Kathy. I was worried she was trying to find me, as I'd mentioned before. I'd moved 2 hours away from our old residence. Last weekend, I ran into her at my usual coffee shop near my home. It didn't feel like a coincidence. Luckily, I managed to get away before she noticed me. Third update, this past weekend, I went into town for groceries, stopping at my usual coffee shop to work on some paperwork using their free Wi-Fi. I finished up, walked out, and was headed to my truck when I heard it. Paul! I turned. Across the street was Kathy, my ex-wife, waving at me. Finally, Armageddon had arrived. She hurried across the street, rushing towards me. I just stood there, in disbelief, almost expecting an embrace. She extended her hand, but I instinctively held out my arms, palms up, stopping her in her tracks. Her face twisted in pain. I've been searching for you, Paul, she said. I wanted to see you since I heard you moved here. Can we talk? I felt like an animal caught in a trap. Yes, I finally gave in. All right, let's find a table. We can talk for a minute. She asked if we could go to my house. I flatly refused. She followed me down the street to a bench outside a small store. She started by remarking on how much I'd changed, raving about my beard, my fitness, my new look. She was wearing a tank top, small white shorts, her hair in a ponytail, just how I used to like it. She was laying on the charm hard. My radar was screaming. She was trying to activate the sex appeal, clearly. I knew I had to stay in control to see where this was going. She started by saying she was sorry about the affair. She claimed karma had hit her hard after I left. Her employer found out, and things got so tense she eventually resigned. Her affair partner, who was engaged, got criticized and transferred departments. When he blamed her for everything, she retaliated by telling his fiancé the truth, which blew up their engagement. This is when she bowed her head and started to cry. I didn't say a word. I just sat there looking around. She eventually straightened up, looked at me for a long moment. "What do you want from me?" I finally asked. She swore she never intended to have an affair. She claimed she got caught up in company politics, career positioning, and her AP used his charm to corrupt her. She even admitted she felt like she was using him as much as he was using her. When I accused her of cheating, she intended to come clean, she said. She drank after work to ease the guilt, hated herself, felt stupid, alone, like her heart had burst. She ended things with her AP immediately after I left. She believed she had to find me, to see if there was any chance of reconciliation, since I refused to speak to her. She wanted a fresh start, even though she knew we were divorced. I just stared at her. Then I let her have it. "You have no right to come out here and try to undo all the harm you've done. Do you think I'll just overlook everything you did to destroy our union? As I said before, if you cheated, we were done. Forgiveness doesn't exist for that. This relationship will not be restarted. You murdered it. You ruined everything we had. How foolish do you believe me to be? I watched you walk into a hotel with him that night. Were you aware of that?" My voice had been getting louder, and I noticed people were starting to stare. She grabbed my arm, sobbing. I let her cry on my shoulder for a moment, then pushed her away gently. "I deserve all this," she replied, looking up at me. "I'm sure I do. If nothing else, would you allow me to take you out to dinner?" "I'd rather not," I said. "I would like to speak further. I want to make sure we are transparent about everything. You need to spend more time with me than you have in the past. Paul, please, I love you so much, even though I know you might not want to hear it. Before you left me, I had no idea how much I loved you. You broke me as much as I broke you. I'm unable to forgive myself, and I don't want to do so till the day I pass away." She started to sob uncontrollably, hyperventilating. I lifted her up, gave her a hug. It seemed like the only way to calm her. I knew then I had shattered her heart as severely as she had shattered mine. We walked until we found a quiet spot. Once she'd calmed down, I asked, "How did you find me? Did you hire a private investigator?" She giggled, a small, sad sound. "No. I ran into Stacy a few weeks ago and asked how she was doing. Stacy didn't mention you. I pushed her until she spilled everything. I'd warned Stacy not to say anything, but Kathy had persisted. Stacy finally caved, though all she knew was that I lived somewhere close by and came to town on her days off. So, I started coming here to check on you," she finished. I couldn't help but laugh a little, thinking, damn, Stacy can't keep her trap shut. Kathy blushed. We ended up having dinner at a charming little spot with a patio. I made sure we didn't drink anything. I wasn't giving her any excuse to be overly friendly or claim she was too inebriated later. We actually had a good conversation. Afterwards, I walked her to her car. She pressed me hard to stay longer, insisting she hadn't dated anyone since I left, vowing fervently that I was the only person she wanted. "No," I told her. "It's still way too early for me to go down that road." She pleaded for me to come back, but I didn't say yes. I gave her my new email address, nothing more. "My phone number? You'll just blow it up with texts and calls," I said. She wept over it, but eventually agreed to my choice. She promised to email me about returning to town the following weekend. Before she left, I looked at her directly. "Would you have forgiven me if I had been the one cheating?" She paused, thought about it. "Yes, in time," she replied, "but only if we saw a marriage counselor and worked through the healing process with lots of talking, maybe even a binding agreement." All right, I said. Maybe I could do that. In 5 or 10 years. I would wait if that's what it would take, she responded. Then she took both my hands, looked me in the eye and said, God damn it, Paul. I will always love you and will do anything to prove it. That statement truly caught me off guard. Even after she left, her words kept rattling around in my head. She'd said them so firmly, but I still couldn't envision us reuniting. I felt better about the encounter, but I couldn't see her as a friend yet. Even that was a mystery. I went home, enjoyed a long run, had some beer, and thought about how far I had come. Could someone please assure me she wouldn't destroy the tranquility I'd built for myself? I had the luxury of time to sort through it, to get perspective, but it was all still so vivid. Last update, probably the final one. When I first uploaded my story, the moderators kept taking it down. So, in summary, I ghosted my ex-wife for over a year before she finally tracked me down. She wanted to make amends, to start over. If you thought I'd be the typical beta, blue pill fool and forgive her, you're about to be deeply disappointed. Last week, she sent me a lengthy email expressing her love and regret for the affair. She offered to come out and stay with me for the weekend. My answer? I silenced her. I informed her that I had no plans to make amends. I'm completely happy living alone, enjoying my secluded spot, keeping things simple. At 32, I'm not in a rush to make changes. I have my own self-determination plan, and I've enjoyed the company of a few wonderful women and friends. I made it clear in my email response that I had no intention of reconciling and declined to provide her with my phone number. I no longer know or trust you, I wrote. You made your bed. I hope the best for you, and perhaps we might become friends in the future, but not right now. She was annoyed by my evasiveness and responded in a telling way. She confessed that she had taken a job offer in a different state. Her true goal had been for me to accompany her, believing that my remote work would make the move simple. She wished we could start over somewhere new. She wanted to visit me in person to persuade me because she was running out of time before moving. Luckily for me, her time was up, as I had a week of business travel scheduled. I'm grateful I will no longer have her in my life. She will soon recognize that her time with me is over, but I anticipate a few more desperate emails. She'll need to find someone else, and she might even cheat on them. To anyone reading this, make the most of your life. Let go of the past and give yourself the strength to move on. Good luck to all of you. What do you think? Have you ever had to draw such a hard line, even when someone was begging for a second chance? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.